Thank you so much. You can hear me properly, yeah? Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to host this, I expect, very interesting discussion with the panelists over here with their intensive experience. So just before we kickstart into our session talking about bridging the gap between legacy and the future thinking, I would like just to thank all the panelists for being with us here today. And if we could start with a very quick, brief introductions about the recent work and yourself, just to give perspective about the discussion to our audience today. So Sumit, if you would like to start.
Sure. Hi, I'm Sumit Srivastava. I have about 20 years of digital transformation. It was not a word that was used 20 years ago. It was more like life or death at that point in time. But I've got 20 years of taking traditional retail, banking systems into then catalog first, then e-commerce, then pure play marketplace, and now fully app-based digital first DNAs. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation, and thank you for having me here.
Great. Right.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Raed, and I'm the Executive Director of Digital and Technology at Miral. Miral Group is the lead creator of immersive destination experiences within the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. And we contribute to the growth and the diversification of Abu Dhabi's economy. I'm delighted to be part of this panel, and I look forward for a fruitful discussion.
So we both drove from Abu Dhabi this morning, yeah?
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I came from Abu Dhabi. You were here in Dubai in the morning as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Hi.
Vishal.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Vishal Anand. I work as a senior director at Jumeirah Group. For those who are not familiar with Jumeirah Group, I'm sure you know Burj Al Arab, so it's one of our assets. We are into hospitality business, and I work there as a senior director managing all the back office solutions, all the workplace productivity tools, take care of all the F&B solutions and all the asset management solutions. I am in Dubai for the last 24 years, so people call me Camel because when you stay more than 2 decades, I think you become at a camel. That's what the joke is about. So I'm delighted to be here and excited to have a good conversation with the panelists.
Alessandro.
Perfect. So my name is Alessandro Macchiarola, complicated last name. I'm Italian originally. I am a data scientist myself. I probably have been a data scientist before data science was a thing. Saying I've been first probably a statistician before being a data scientist. My passion is actually data and analytics, so anything that applies how to derive value from data and drive that value back to the business. I work right now with eClerx, where I am lead strategist. I manage all EMEA clients, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa, obviously. And we are investing, obviously, in this region, so this is why you probably will see a bit more of me in this region. Thank you.
Alessandro, how many times you've been asked if you support Inter Milan or something?
I'm an Inter supporter, and that's a bit of an issue these days.
Great. So now we'll move to the critical part. So just for us to let our audience knows about the expectation of that session. So we will start from trying to map the legacy to the future. And then we will start moving more into the technical side of the future transformation requirement, and at the end, we will be talking about human capital development and organization roles to support such transformation. So to start with the first section about legacy versus future, my first question to Vishal. Now, let's say any of the organization is trying to chart the path towards transformation. What would drive transformation mandate? And what is your advice to organization to establish its strategies in a clear form of the future digital transformation? So give us some thoughts in that perspective.
Okay, and this is my view. When you say transformation, again, digital transformation is a very abused word, but let's take that out of the equation. But if you want to make any change, the change in an organization can be driven in multiple facets, right? First facet is any technological advancements. We all know that technology is changing every day, and we as an organization need to keep up in pace with that. So that could be one of the reasons or drivers when any organizations can embark upon a transformation program. Second reason is ever-changing customer expectations. We are in hospitality industry. The guest experience is the center of everything what we do. The expectations keeps on changing. So we need to do technology advancements and transformation programs. And I had the fortunate to work with Raed, wherein we had to work with and introduce an online check-in process, right? So that's one of the reasons which could drive a transformation in the way we operate as a business itself. So customer expectations is one of the second driver. The third one, which I have to say is it is a legal and compliance. So many times we are all, bent to all the security regulations and GDPR regulations, data privacy rules. We need to, and maybe our legacy systems are not catered and geared up for that. So we need to upgrade the systems and infrastructures to ensure we are compliant with these legacy, legal and security requirements. The fourth one is about the market competition itself. Each one is competing, and to stay up the edge, we have to drive initiatives which will actually keep up to the speed, right? And last but not the least, the vision and strategy of the leadership, right? So every organization, I'm sure we have many people over here, every organization, the leadership vision on what they want to achieve, how they want to achieve, will drive the transformation or a need for transformation programs. So these are the five dimensions in which, or reasons in which, a digital transformation program can be initiated. But what does it entail to ensure it is done successfully? And I would look at to 4W and H model. First is why. And I don't know how many are familiar with Simon Sinek. It's very important to know why, right? So the vision of the organization, what are we trying to achieve? What are the opportunities? What are the challenges? It's very important to have that very clearly articulated. Then the next question comes is who, W, will be who. Who are the stakeholders, internal stakeholders, external stakeholders who are required for the success of the organization? They need to be included. The third W would be is when. What is the implementation plan? And typically this implementation plan for any strategy or the transformation program can range from 3 to 5 years. And we need to ensure that we have a robust detailed plan supporting that. And which is, did I miss any other review? And then the last one would be is the how. How is all about detailing the approach for implementation of the plan, identifying the risks, identifying the issues, and and most importantly, having a governance plan to track it, right? And it is very important that we don't lose focus of the plan. We ensure that we have governance at every stage of the implementation, during the pre-implementation, during the implementation, and post-implementation, so that everybody is kept informed and updated about what this strategy is all about, what is this transformation is all about, and they keep the support for them. So this is how I believe we can ensure that we have a firm strategy to succeed in the implementation.
Yeah, but moving ahead with that, like Raed, my question would be that even in a space like GCC and UAE, we have a lot of direct semi-government and government businesses. So is the mandate for digital transformation varies based on the ownership element, and also as well is that what impact from your views, like Vishal told us about different methodologies and strategies to map this, what could be also other requirements that would make different changes?
Sure. Well, first of all, I just want to share with you that we're proud that we have a handsome portfolio at Miral Group. Some of our flagship assets includes Warner Brothers, Ferrari World, Etihad Arena, and the recently launched SeaWorld, which I hope you guys all had the chance to visit recently. Alessandro, we're waiting for you to visit. So with this size, with this magnitude, comes different requirements. I personally had experiences in 3 types of companies. Startups, and that was during my Silicon Valley years, and semi-government and government within the UAE. And for me, the strategies of digital transformations totally differ when it comes to startups. Startups are almost digitally transforming by nature. It's the nature of the beast. Sometimes they are the digital transformation themselves. And people seek them for digital transformation inspiration. So that's embedded in their DNA. However, between semi-government and government, I feel that the success factors are very similar for the most part, whether it's the top-down support necessary, the bottoms-up buy-in, the need of having quick wins, the need of having a change champion. All of these are necessary between government and semi-government. But maybe in my humble experience, what I saw was a little bit different in the impact is the bottoms-up buy-in. And allow me to elaborate on this a little bit. Within the government, when we saw that other neighboring departments are on the same pace and we are working together, that really gave us a drive. And that amplified the feeling of serving the country and serving the city. And that really removed the resistance a lot. So for us, that was a very important success factor. And the UAE is an amazing force of enabling this by putting together digital authorities such as Digital Dubai, Abu Dhabi Digital Authority, executive committees, and so forth. These are all encouragers of working together and maintaining the same pace. Whereas in semi-government, it had a little bit of a flavor of the private sector. And what was important to gain the buy-in and to remove the resistance was the buy-in of the stakeholders. So the important stakeholders had to believe in the vision and the value behind the vision. And in some experiences of mine where people didn't believe and didn't buy in, the transformation didn't see the light. However, for example, in our case right now, when we expose some of the early marketing insights as quick wins, and in our ChatGPT launch that we did recently on Yas Island, the business saw the value immediately, so that removed the resistance and got the buy-in. So those little intricate details for me was a little different between semi-government and government.
But I need to follow up on that point, Raed, and the other fact of being, I would say, UAE is one of the most advanced, digitally transformed governments. You know, we lived, all of us, in different European, North American, and around the Middle East, and we know that the government here is very digitally transformed. Can you draw to me, from a government, semi-government, to even a private sector, who's gonna be, because mostly we focus on the internal stakeholders. You spoke about departments buy-in. Can we talk wider about your external stakeholders? Because at the end of the day, Miral or Jumeirah or most of the organization we work for a customer at the end of the day, and we want the customer to understand and accept them being part of the digital transformation. Can you map out to us some stakeholders and let me know how do you feel about how we can make them part of the transformation?
Sure.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think it's very straightforward. I believe that any digital transformation program has to have the same KPIs as the business KPIs. Potentially, maybe it could have additional revenue streams. That's thinking outside of the box a little bit. But any deviation from your core KPIs, it's really a distraction. Because then you're doing technology for the sake of technology and you're building up the hype. And like with AI now, and there's a lot of noise that we're seeing, and we're all excited about it, and that's fair, and that's part of the humanity and the nature of being excited of new technologies. But if you don't laser focus on the value, you will get distracted. And in our case, NPS, customer satisfaction, is a big part of the KPIs, and that is the guiding light for us on our internal operations. So the way we think, the way we design our processes, the way we deploy our technologies, it's always mapped to the customer. And that's why Amazon is one of the most successful companies in the world, because they are one of the most customer-centric companies in the world. So customer centricity is so important in digital transformation. And for us, when we avail things like the marketing insights I referred to, this is revealing or exposing the relevant content to the customers, hence having more traction, more conversion, and a more personalized experience. So definitely it is imperative that the customer feels it before anybody else.
Exactly, and I believe that.
Yeah, but just to add on what Raed had mentioned about, and I want to just also mention about, you did ask about external stakeholders. For any transformation program, as much as the internal stakeholders, the external stakeholders are also key important for the success of it. Like, and depends upon what the initiative is. In one of our projects where we for that to be successful, we cannot do on our own. So we had to liaise with various, like the Dubai Tourism Authorities, Dubai Police, the CID, etc. We all need to make them understand that what we are doing and why we are doing, and what is in it for it, right? And in that particular example, it was about, Raed, you would agree, it was lifting Dubai as a, city as a next level to have one of the unique features within the city, right? So that is the kind of thing. So it is, I agree with Raed, apart from customers, we need to ensure that everybody joins the party to ensure that it is successful.
So we can say that, can I say that digital transformation, in core of digital transformation, it has to come out of customer centricity concept, because otherwise you will sound too off or too out of this. So Sumit, that's I think, as a digital commercial and lead.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like the why is really important, right? As we talked about, and I'm just going to dovetail and expand on what they said. So when you look at the why you want to transform, it cannot be because the competition's doing it. And I've seen this in many cases where this is a mistake. So throughout my career, I've done like companies that are almost dying and they need a massive fix, companies that are in status quo and they still need to transform. They don't need to, but they want to because it's the buzzword. And then I've seen companies that are growing and scaling. They also want to be in a transformation because they want to disrupt the industry. But the companies that have really succeeded are the ones that why didn't depend on, because my competition is doing X, Y, Z, so I need to look as good, I'm missing out. The why needs to be, why am I doing this? For better customer experience. Why should the customer experience be changed is the other question. So you have to dive into, is your customer demand shifting? Is the customer's preferences evolving? And does that shape the market very differently in the next 4 or 5 years? Then I need to transform, focused on that. And transformation is an end-to-end thing, I think, and this is why transformation is always a very heavy word in an organization, because it threatens a lot of people, it excites a lot of people, it engages a lot of people. But literally, you cannot change or refresh your brand, but your app or your website is still very sticky, right? Because that's terrible customer experience. You cannot have people from customer experience getting into arguments and debates with a customer who's calling for a complaint, but you have a massive brand campaign going on, right? Transformation end to end isn't superficial. It is fundamental core changes that you need to make that change the customer experience and the way the customer perceives you and your product and your services, and that basically engages them more. That's where we need to get to, and that why needs to be solved for. The what and the how, yes, it's very important, right? Like, what do you need to achieve? What is the objective? And coming back to measurements, right? And I totally agree with Raed where he's saying that the KPIs need to match from a digital transformation team to the company's objectives, because a lot of times you will see that disparity. You will see the business and the commercial side going, we need to drive revenue, and you guys are not helping. And the technology, IT, digital, data transformation guys will say, we're doing everything possible. This is just unreasonable, right? We don't own revenue. Well, actually, everybody does. Everybody owns revenue, everybody owns NPS, everybody owns customer experience. So the way we've measured it successfully in the past is OKRs, which is objectives and key results that match to the objective. So even if you're a data science or a data engineer and you're in a completely different department that doesn't own revenue, your objective is to build a product, build a more algorithm, build better customer engagement models and personalization. That key result then is it drives X million in revenue, right? So there's an objective and a key result across the organization that then ties in. And truly that, it takes time, but it gets there.
But then, so the question comes to mind, like if we go back to basics, digital transformation is the best form of challenging everything,
Yes.
So now I want to speak about, we spoke a little bit about internal, we spoke a little bit about mapping to external, why, and all those. I want to ask you about two other challenged groups of the digital transformation. Technology, because if we want to think on digital transformation, should we keep technology limitation in mind or not? That's number one. Number two, that who drives the challenge? The technology or the human part of it? Our keynote speaker before that session was talking about that we will not be replaced by AI, but we'll be replaced by people who knows AI. So how do you see the technology challenge? Are we specifically under limitation of what technology can offer us, or how we can take the future?
So that's a very interesting question and a valid one, right? Because I think every company is in different life cycle stage, right? So for example, I've seen a large digital telco. Today they're large. 5 years ago they weren't. But when they started off, they said, look, we don't expect to be scaling that fast, right? Even Talabat is a great example. Talabat they didn't expect to be exponentially scaling. I come from DoorDash in the Silicon Valley and eBay. We didn't expect to scale suddenly, right, overnight. And that OpenAI example of 100 million monthly active users. So at that point, when you're building, you don't build product or technology or servers, hardware, middleware, front end for a year or 2 years. You need to plan it out, right? But this is where things go wrong, where if you haven't planned it well, you need to overhaul all of your technology in 3 or 4 years because you've had exponential gain. But to answer your question also in a different way is, you're absolutely right. Technology sometimes does exist, and you don't need to spend more on that technology. You need to spend on skill sets to be able to understand how to better use that technology. And if that's the first attempt, and even if that hasn't worked, then you need to figure out how to change the technology. Maybe it's processes, maybe it's more middleware, like integrations into different applications. But I kind of feel like people are very quick, from what I've seen, they're very quick to say, we know everything, we'll just change the technology, and that's it, it's magic. It's not magic, it doesn't work that way.
Maybe I'd like to comment on this, if you allow me. I think I can't imagine any organization, maybe a little in the energy sector and maybe the battery technology. People are looking for evolution in there. But overall, technology is readily available, and it can serve almost any requirements today that we are requiring. I think when we're talking about digital transformation, a lot of what we're talking about is really change management and commanding the art of storytelling and convincing people and getting them to fit into what you're trying to buy into. So I think, to me, that is the biggest challenge.
Yes, and actually that will take me to you, Alessandro, because most likely you would maybe on a daily basis or even hourly basis, you will receive all those innovative ideas.
Absolutely.
From a data science and analytics and IT perspective, how often you hear something that it's not even possibly available or exists?
Well, it's actually quite interesting. Until a few years ago, you had executives coming to you and say, I need AI, without truly understanding what that was, right? I think it was a common challenge that we have all witnessed. I think now, back to the point that we actually just discussing, there is a way more or better understanding of where AI can take companies. But again, going back to the previous question and just following up on what we're saying, dreaming is not the problem, okay? Thinking about what's next is not the problem. I think that the real thing that we see in companies actually aligning whatever you develop or you decide to embark yourself, whatever journey you're doing, with clear goals and objectives. And that's actually a key driver for all this type of work. We're talking about customer centricity, very important. Digital transformation. I often call it digital acceleration because most of the companies are already transformed into digital. Most, I think they hear, if you go for a hand raise, I'm pretty sure that nobody would raise hands saying that they don't have a digital footprint. So it's really about aligning those goals to the actual action. So vision, mission, and strategy. So we're going almost back to the basics of business management, I would say. Something that we have touched upon, and I think we haven't formalized it as such, something that I do see a lot in very much every client, is that what we call target operating model, that people, process, and technology paradigm that has been out and about forever when it comes to IT. That reapplies and applies real well to AI, statistics, data science, and so on and so forth. And it's really about that dichotomy that you have in companies where you have maybe IT specialists, they have their own agenda, and you have business specialists, they have their own agenda. But it's really about creating that common goal. And often, and this is something that we briefly touched upon, It's actually down to the idea of goals aligned with investments. And I think that one of the key points that I would like to raise here. So the most successful companies are the companies that have a great alignment, and they know where to place their money where their dreams are.
Exactly. And this is something very important for me, and please, I would like, we didn't discuss this in our pre-discussion, but this comes as a logical question now. If we take the digital transformation in Middle East into different phases, the first phase that everyone, like you said, Sumit, a lot of people were leading the transformation, others was just want to follow because they were afraid getting out of competition. I think we're done with that. 99% of companies are digitally transforming or transformed or already in the future. What I think it's an overwhelming experience and shocking to business leaders now, the amount of data and information that this technological move have brought back to their table to make decisions while they don't know what to do with that. Let's talk a little bit about the power of data out of digital transformation. Now you know more about your customer. You know more about their appetite, as you spoke, Raed, about NPSs and clients telling you what they love, what they hate, what they do, and this data back to your system and this. If you're asked as a digital transformation leaders about information and data, and potentially you will have million, it will take you years maybe to analyze the data. Data now almost became free for you after you digitally transformed. So what's next with this data and the digital readiness we have in the region? What's next? What's going to happen?
I think it's business use cases, right? So it's super interesting that you say that, because I think many companies today are in that phase where they've got enough data now, and they've got insights coming out of it, but now they don't know what to do with it, right? And there's a lot of dashboards, there's a lot of reports, and it's overwhelming. I think you have to attack business use cases independently and then try and see what insights work. So I'll give you quick examples from, say, cross-industry, right? When you're looking at supply chain, for example, and you've got an e-commerce website and Amazon was a good example, you've got multiple warehouses, you've got a customer that's sitting, let's take a larger landmass, let's just say in the US, right? You've got somebody sitting in California, the product's in Chicago, and the seller is somewhere in New York, right? If it's a marketplace item, how do you know what inventory is the closest to the customer? How much time it's going to take to get to them? Is the inventory better to come from somewhere else rather than where it's actually as preferred designation? How much of that inventory is left? So warehouse management systems, inventory management systems, are you moving through that goods so fast that the vendor needs to be contacted to say your run rate's only a week, so in the next week you'll be out, you need to shift that in? That's one. Personalization on the other end, if you look at retail and customer, super important, right? The question I just asked earlier is because I see this quite a lot, right? Where you've got app-based companies, and app-based companies, the whole point of the app and you logging into the app is what? That I know you personally, because I know exactly what you're using the app for, how you're using it, what you're purchasing. But then what is the point of that if all of us have literally the same thing on the app, right? From a banner, ad, selection, recommendation perspective, then you don't actually know me, right? So I think from a personalization perspective, that data and insights should be down to the level of what are your cohorts, how are they using your app, your product, your features, what are the things that they engage with the most, what are the things they don't engage with, and then build into funnels. So that's another example from a machine learning aspect, right? Yesterday there was a lot of conversation on blockchain in general, but also to run compute power on that blockchain, you need a lot of machine learning and AI. So I think there's a lot of examples. We need to find the right use cases, because otherwise we'll be chasing too many shiny objects and we won't know where to go, we'll be lost.
Raed, how do you see?
Yeah, so sorry, Vishal. So a couple of things here. I think number one, if you have overwhelming amount of data, the question is, are you able to utilize it? And that by itself is a whole lot of work that we have to worry about.
It's another project.
Absolutely, the data platform work to make sure that you have the right pipelines and they are not going down and they are constantly available, and you have the proper data governance and you have the proper data lake, and then you have the proper expertise that know how to do something that makes business sense. That is the foundational stream, and it's a lot of work. If you are able to reach to that point, which what you, Sumit, was saying, that assuming you have the analytics and you assume you have the proper insights, then I would go back to what I was saying earlier, is that let the customer, let the business KPIs be your guiding light, because we are actually facing this. At Miral, we have many kinds of subsidiaries, so the amount of data can be overwhelming. So it's about what am I trying to accomplish? Is my customer satisfied enough? Well, let me zoom into that. Am I generating the right revenue? How am I compared to the competition? How are my numbers? And that could launch micro projects that could answer this question. Another thing is that I foresee that AI technologies could also solve this very same problem that you are referring to, meaning it can help us look at various kinds of data, and it suggests strategic insights to us, especially if it gets overwhelming, on what we should be looking for, what kind of data we should be focusing on, and so forth. And that's why, personally, I'm a big fan of quick wins and just starting to move the needle on and taking the first step. And that's why I'm very proud to say that we were the first in UAE and the first in the region within the travel and entertainment sector to integrate with OpenAI Azure services. So today, if you go to yasisland.com, the chatbot is fueled by the ChatGPT technology. And that came after a quick scrum and a couple of sprints. And within 2 months, we were able to launch it. And the good news is that it immediately gave us efficiencies on delegating less people to physical human call center agent. And when people saw that efficiency, it already gave us the guiding light and the roadmap of a holistic AI strategy that has a generative portion, that has a chatbot portion, and it allowed us to think clearly on what to do with the data.
Yeah, Vishal?
Yeah, I think they covered most of it. But I think, as you rightly said, I would go one step backwards. For us to have the data, to manage the data, it is very essential that we have a data governance framework in mind, right? And we also have the data owners defined. Because there's, like, for example, customer data. Who is the owner of a customer data? Is it the sales team who actually gets the customer, or is it the operations team who are actually serving the customer? This debate will always continue, and the battle is never won which department owns that. But I think a key is also having a proper data dictionary, defining what this means, because there could be various terms which will be, it's assumed as this is the meaning, but we have to have a proper definition of that. So once you have the data dictionary in place, data ownership sorted, then as Sumit and Raed said, it's important that we understand and use how to use the data. So take in our case of example, we have data from our point of sale systems, we have from a property management system, the spa system, or table reservation systems. We collate the different attributes of the customer, because the customer's avatar in each of those interactions or touch points with our business in our hotel industry I'm talking about is different. So it's important that we develop a customer genome which contains the attributes of all of these customers, and we have it as a single repository. Then we have the power to say, come up with the use cases, what can we do and leverage that. So we are happy to say that we did something using AI. We did something called as F&B recommendations. So we know that what is the customer's preferences are, what he eats, which type of cuisine he likes, and then based on that, we do a cross-sell and upsell using the data which he has used and recommend them, because we targeted all our UAE residents, because during our COVID time, we cannot just depend on a hotel guest for our F&B. So we need to target and reach out to the UAE residents, and this is how we reached out. And we are proud to say that there was immediately 46% uptake in our revenue, right? So the numbers drive the business. And that was the needle pusher, which said that, hey, there is power in this machine learning algorithms. We need to invest in that, and that's where we are doing more and more, and I can't divulge what are we doing at this stage, but I'm saying it's important that we identify the ownership. It's important that we identify the use cases, as Sumit mentioned, and we do targeted. We don't have to go as a big bang. Try to have a focused approach, have the wins, have the revenue shown, and then we move on.
Alessandro?
Yes, just want to add just a few things here. We talk about data. Data, I don't have to say this, is one of the best assets that we all have in our own companies, right? But unutilized data is a cost center. And data utilized becomes return on investment. So that's the type of thing that I think companies, they start thinking and realizing. So it's about the return on investment on the data you utilize. on the activities that you undertake. Could be upsell, cross-sell, it could be a personalization activity, right? You want a return investment there. So that, again, goes back to the fact that you're investing money into an activity, investing money into hiring data scientists, which are not cheap, let's say, but you also then, you want a return on the back of it. And it's not much about the system or the data, but it's about what actually you utilize and how much what kind of value you're able to derive from it. And this is regardless of whether you're a public, private sector, it's all the same. The one more thing that I want to say on this is this is a paradigm that has been working for the past probably 20 years, and nowadays is even becoming even more strong, it's even stronger. This goes back to your point in terms of data and genome, customer genome. We keep asking people to give us data. And I think this is a very interesting thing. We're going to get to a point where people do not want to give data. So I think, and we're already almost there, let's not forget. If you do ask, and this is the one thing that I'm going to probably leave you with, if you do ask for data, you need to give something back. And that's, I think, the beauty of giving and also shifting the power onto the consumer. And we know that there is already wider activity and you know, that they're happening around that. So I always say this to clients, and also when I was working in myself as a head of data science, you ask for data, you use that data, you need to give something back. Whether it's an experience, it's a differentiated experience, whether it's a new set of services, or whether it's a new product or line of products, you always need to give something back to them.
Or a discount or some saving.
Could be a discount.
Could be a discount.
Yeah, because actually, to close in with that section and move ahead, because I'm conscious a little bit of our time, the fact that data is the oil of the future, if we're talking here from GCC, and companies that have more data would have more possibilities to break through the future. Now, 5-10 years back, we said, like, if you don't digitally transform your out of market, I would say that the future, if you don't apply the right data science to your information, that's the taking you out of business, because others will do, and they will take you out of competition, and then you have a huge gap to fill. Now, to wrap up and to have something that also very important, myself, I work for London Institute of Bank Finance. We are a university. Most of you work on the commercial side, semi-government side, and a lot of time in different occasions, we're being asked about either like young generations, what the future studies they need to do, or current gray hair, middle-aged groups. So they're like, oh, would I have a job, what I need to learn? And everyone, you know, typically in Middle East and Asia, like we want to go back to education. Education is not always the answer for future skills. So we heard about Scrum, Agility, Sprint, a whole dictionary of business have came out of digital transformation. So what is your advice to people about how they can take that challenge and move ahead in their careers? And what do you expect organizations to do to support the people? Because we have the machine, we have the AI, we have the systems, we have the software, but you don't have the people. So you don't have the God-gifted human brain, you know? So like, what to be done? Who would like to get a start?
I mean, I can kickstart it, but I'm sure everybody's got ideas. I think there's your question had two parts. One is for kids. I'll get to that second, because I have sort of a contrary opinion of that. But one is for within organizations, what can you do? And I think organizations here, I'm seeing this a lot in the region, because there's a progressive growth mindset in the UAE in general, and they're really pushing for upskilling, right, across teams. And so I think that what companies mostly should do is have a learning and development budget, right? And this then goes back to the transformation of how you want to do it, how you want to upskill your people and teach them. Because it's not always easy to say, all right, I've got all these people, but they can't do it, so I'm just going to hire people from outside, right? So when you upskill those people on data, AI, machine learning, and technology in general, what will happen is people that were doing the work now can up-level and have strategic thought leadership and thought process around how the work needs to get done, while the machines will then be doing the work, right? So nobody loses their job, but you actually upskill and up-level. That part is important. The company obviously has a roadmap of, you know, in the next 5 years, these are the products we'll launch, or this is where we want to be, or this is where customer experience needs to be. And when they backtrack that, they're able to understand what sort of skill sets that people need. I think from a children perspective, it's very different because, I mean, I'm an engineer and I'll tell you this, right? Like, I use nothing of what I learned in engineering. Nothing, absolutely nothing, right? I had to relearn everything.
But it is still in the wall in your office, yeah? You kept the diploma or you even get it?
No, I could give it back, I
Somewhere.
guess, I don't know. But honestly, like, I'm an engineer and MBA, but like literally nothing. Like everything I learned in university, by the time you get out, the world's changing so fast that what you learned yesterday is already obsolete today, right? And also different career paths, when you change, you need different skill sets. I think from a kid's perspective, it's very difficult because you can force someone to take up a coding program or a boot camp, but if their passion isn't in it, they're not going to be able to do it. Right?
Yeah,
If I can add, actually, education is a great topic, right? So, and particularly education when it comes to mathematics, statistics, and data science. And I want to draw a parallel to something that has happened in the world, and I think you all are, to an extent, all exposed to it. In 2006, 2007, we had the financial crisis. And I'm just drawing a parallel here. That financial crisis was driven by the fact that there were too many investment bankers and too many investment bankers that did not follow fundamentals, right? The short version of it.
And all from
very,
Stanford and
very short
Howard.
version.
the polite version.
Very, very short version. Yeah. Data science is not that far away from it. So, and this is a word of caution in a way that I'm expressing.
Yeah, I agree.
Few organizations you're thinking about, embarking on a data science journey, my word of caution is to do it well. There are lots of organizations, there are lots of degrees, there are lots of qualifications that they do that job, and there are so many more that do not. And I think there are lots of people nowadays that they are aspiring, everybody is almost an aspiring data scientist. That's a bit dangerous for the situation. I mean, how many data scientists would you need? Right? That's the question. And it goes back to how many investment bankers did you need back in 2007? Not that many. So just a word of caution on this. I think this is a specialized area, and we should keep it as a specialized area. It's not a commodity. The application and what maybe a consumer may see will become a commodity, but behind the scene it is not.
Yeah, if I would turn to a panelist, I would just quickly give a note. I always say to our students in the university and in different forums, when we talk about education, you still want to be an engineer, be an engineer. You want to be a doctor, go be a doctor. But the future doctor, the future engineer, a built-in competency in the education should be related to tech-savvy and digital transformation. So you have a future doctor who digitally transformed, a future engineer who I don't think you studied digital transformation in the university.
Nothing.
So it's trying to install, and what's very interesting that the government of UAE working on now is trying to include in the national curriculum in all schools in the UAE financial literacy, financial inclusion, tech-savvy, the future skills. We need the same jobs, but in a modern lock.
Yeah, more
we don't want something different for our kids. It's still who aspire to be a policeman, but be a digitally transformed policeman. If you want to be a doctor, be a digitally transformed doctor. So tomorrow when you have a machine doing the operation, you're still in control with your profession and you're able to use the future. Right? What do you think?
No, 100%, spot on. And I think it's a very philosophical question because if I'm always worried about my kids to guide them in the right direction because Sumit, as you rightfully mentioned, I think there's a statistic that 80% of people work in a discipline that's not related to what they studied.
Okay.
So if we want to talk technology, I think to be on the safe side, information security or data is a safe bet for any kid who wants to grow up and guarantee a well-paid job, something that's so involved in today's technology industry. But as you said, they might not be technology savvy or interested in technology. So I believe one computer science course is imperative, it's a must, because it's not about computer science, it's about learning what technology is about and then helping you structuring your thought. That's what computer science does for you. That's one thing. Another thing, I think we have to teach the next generations about our lessons learned. We went through the financial crisis. We went through COVID. And I believe all of us today, we should be so thankful and so happy. And we should celebrate every day for where we are today and the technology that's available, and we need to channel this energy onto our kids. So we have to teach them how to be happy, and we have to teach them to be ambitious and to be grateful. And I think if they have those three things, good things will happen.
Vishal?
I think enough is said, but I just want to echo the fact, yes, I myself am an electronics graduate, but I've never done any electronics. I'm in a different field, right? So I think Raed is correct, 80%, most of them are doing a different profession. And you are also right, Kareem, where you said that it doesn't matter, and my daughter, for example, she's doing architecture, and she doesn't want to do anything technology, but she also realizes that the architecture is infused with technology. Even my son is doing biology, he also realizes that he's doing biotech, bioinformatics, etc. It is infused with technology. So technology cuts across, and it is a horizontal layer which cuts across any profession, but we all have to be digitally infused, digitally native, right? But that's about studying, etc. But that's a philosophical thing. But from an organization point of view, and I think for us, my view would be is for us to succeed, every individual need to have the following basic skills, right? So one is the digital acumen around having the awareness of what is the developments that is happening in the technology, what are the improvements that is happening, and how that can help in their own industry. Like in my case, in hospitality industries, what are the changes that is happening, and how can I bring those infusions and infuse into the organization? That digital acumen is one of the very key skills which I believe needs to have. And on the softer side, collaboration and influencing, it's very important that we as a technology team cannot do anything on our own. We need to work very closely with our business leaders, make them understand why we are doing what we are doing, so that we become as a part of a team members to implement and do that. And lastly, it is also important that we realize we cannot be static. We need to be continuously learning. Learning is key to success, and it's important that we keep abreasted. So these are the skills I would encourage people should have.
Great. I would like to thank you all for those insightful contribution. I myself enjoyed, and I hope all our audience today have enjoyed that panel. Lots to take away with us and think about. But the future will bring more challenges for digital transformation, and we have to find the answer. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kareem.
Thank you.
Thank you.